Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Chewin' the Lou podcast. Make sure to follow us online on chewinthelou.org or any of your social media preferred platforms. We're there. Check us out. Are you ready? I feel like we're bringing all of our podcasts down with a little bit of tunes these days. Joe.
Lydia.
It's Lent season.
Woo!
Or lentil. Is that the proper
Lenten.
Lenten, not lentil.
Lentil is a legume.
Yeah, it is. It's very, yeah. Anyways.
Cheer for Lent.
Woo! I know, like, live around. You can tell I'm a non-Catholic in the group because I'm all like, oh, it's Lent season. And then everyone's like, yeah, we just gave something up for 40 days. Probably like the most, our vice of like
Can't cheer for Lent.
Wine and chocolate and sugar. It's like, hey, folks, you just did dry
That's a valid
January.
point. I was just excited to talk about fish fries.
I will tell you, Lent has always been, from the restaurant perspective, if you're not someone that is known for seafood, it is like the slow Friday night shifts. Like, you are like, what can we do to get people in here? I always remember us trying to come up with specials to get people in. And then where I worked was right across from McCormick and Schmidt, and that was their busy season. They were popping, and we were like, all right, I guess this is our Friday for the next, how many, 6 weeks? 40 days
40
and 40
days.
nights.
That's what happens when you've got a town that is very Catholic, like St. Louis is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Did you go to Catholic school?
I went to Catholic grade school and Catholic high school.
Yes.
I would not say that I am very much involved at the moment, but grew up going to fish fries, going to, I'm of the generation, my parents were the never eat meat on Fridays ever, like year-round generation. We were definitely just the no meat on Fridays during Lent generation. Hence the fish fries at school. And my memories of fish fries at school were not necessarily actually eating fish and frying fish, but more running around the blacktop at school and playing on the playground while our parents hung out in the beer garden with all the other parents.
Nah.
Which is actually what I like to do now going to fish fries, is let my kids go run around in the playground while I eat fried shrimp and get dollar beers at a fish fry.
Yes. Well, my memories of fish growing up were very slim to none because my dad was, I think there's a term called cradle Catholic. So he went to the Catholic school. I think his aunt tried to talk him into being a priest along the way. But my father had told us from a very early age, I will never serve you fish sticks or mac and cheese. Those were two things on his I will never eat or cook, because he had it every Friday at school. And of course, the nuns were a little bit more pressuring or encouraging to eat all of your food. So my poor dad had
Demanding.
Yes,
They were demanding.
demanding.
That's what nuns would do.
Yes. So, but it's funny because, like, as growing up without it, obviously I learned and got to my own, and it's to the point where, like, both my kids, their favorite food is salmon. My son wrote about it, and I was like, you're an 8-year-old kid, and you're like talking about your favorite food is salmon, and everyone else is like pizza and hamburgers. And I'm like, okay. And then recently, my daughter was on a play date at a friend's house, and the mom was like, so I was going to make lunch, and I asked her daughter what she liked, and she just said, well, I would like salmon or shrimp. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. Like a peanut butter jelly sandwich is just fine. So, I mean, there's light beyond the tunnel. Yeah. So,
my kids are the same. They eat chicken nuggets ad nauseum. However, when we go down to Florida, for some strange reason, they both like to eat crab claws. I don't know. They don't like shrimp. They don't like seafood. But for some reason, fried crab claws, they can't get enough of them.
I love it.
That's the only seafood they will dive into.
Yes. Well, I have learned that the fish fries, say that 5 times fast.
Fish fries, fish fries, fish fries, fish fries, fish fries.
All right. Good for you. Gold star for Jill. Prosperity over here. Well, they're pretty serious around here. Like, everybody has their very distinct fish fry to go to. And I know that when we did a poll on the Chew and the Lou Facebook group, like there was some very strong like feelings and opinions.
People are cheerleaders for their fish fry.
There are. And I have three that I kind of looked into. These were like the top three. And in researching all of them, these were kind of like the three that stood out to me. And so like the number one is St. Ferdinand's Parish in Florissant. And funny enough, they run their fish fry year round. So even after the 40 days and 40 nights of Lent, abstaining, you could still go up to Florissant and get yourself some fish fries up there. If you get a little hankering, it's like the Chick-fil-A effect when you really want to have like a Chick-fil-A, it's Sunday and they're closed. So
those generations that do honor no meat on Fridays every Friday.
Yes.
They still offer it.
They do. Well, and the funny thing is when I called and I talked to the receptionist, she told me actually the thing that they're known for or talked about the most is their German spaghetti. Have you ever heard of a German spaghetti?
You told me about this, and I'm going to withhold judgment until everybody else hears what it is, because I judged.
You judge. I mean, it's just basically, it's your classic spaghetti pasta, but the sauce, she's like, it's very like a very sweet sauce. It's very similar to ketchup. And so I remember telling Joe, and that was his response. I feel like there was like an Italian hand movement on there too. Like what? There's no garlic, but it's what they're known for. It's what people go up there to get. So, yeah.
That's a no for me.
All right. Well, we'll stick to their fish.
But
you can stick to their fish.
You know what? To each their own. They have a great following for it.
Yes.
I'm sure if I tried it, I would be pleasantly surprised.
I feel like that's on our list, Joe.
In my head, I think of spaghetti noodles with ketchup, and that makes me want to not eat that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's more than that. I'm sure it has redeeming qualities.
Yeah, you say this because now you're triggered to think about the aspect comet, and then it slowly appeared.
I'm worried that you're going to pull some German spaghetti out of a fridge over here somewhere and make me try it in front of the world.
Oh, no, not this time. But so then the second one that I loved was in Brentwood, the St. Mary Magdalene's God's Cod fish fry. Say God's Cod 5 times.
God's Cod.
Very nice. What I loved about them is they actually have their own Yelp page. So it's a good fish fry when they actually have their own Yelp page and reviews. They're 5-star Yelp page.
Don't you need reservations for that?
You do.
You have to make reservations for God's Cod.
Yes. So that one was what their
that's
hush
one of those
puppies.
That's one of those like see and be seen kind of things. Like people outside of that parish go to it. Like I've got friends that go to it. Like they're evangelists over God's Cod at St. Mary Magdalene in Brentwood.
And I feel like because of where it's located, it actually has like a traffic control. And so if you're interested, if these are like sparking like new, let's move off of our normal and try. A lot of the parishes are doing carry out just to kind of do their COVID protocol. But the other one that I thought was really interesting was St. Cecilia's in Dutchtown. They have a Mexican fish fry, which they're known for. They do tamales. They've even got, what is it, the chili ranchero, where it's like the poblano peppers that are stuffed with cheese and they're fried. I was looking at their menu and I was like, the chili ranos. What did I say, ranchero?
Chili rancheros.
Oh, they're both delicious.
Yes, great. All things delicious.
Yes, but their menu looked pretty phenomenal. I was like, I might just need to go there. So, have you ever been there?
I've not been. I know they do margaritas. Like, it's a big deal. I know there's other parishes, too, in that Dutchtown area that I think are trying to replicate and do similar types of food experiences. And I think that's what makes a fish fry stand out in the St. Louis region, is when you are known for a specific thing. I think there are plenty of parishes that do a great thing where they have beer, they have fried fish, they have macaroni and cheese or mostaccioli. I mean, that's a standard fish fry option, big crock pots full of mostaccioli. And they do that, and they do it well, and people come out and support the parish, and it's a social event. Great. The ones that I like to go to are when they elevate it to an extent where you can get fried shrimp. They have good hush puppies that are freshly made.
Like coleslaw.
They got good creamy coleslaw. They've got hand cut fries. They're like that there's somebody. It's not just some people in a cafeteria window slinging fish, but that somebody has actually thought out the culinary aspects of your fish fry.
And I love that they're made by people in the parish, right? Like, Every single, like, reading on like some of these, like the fluorescent one, the 42 people, and it takes them 3 days to prep their volume every week. And I'm like, that's a lot of volunteer time for these
I'm sure the
individuals
fry
to come in.
master it's a feather in his cap or her
Yes.
cap. Whoever
Yeah.
does the fish frying, that is you've got the parish pastor, you've got the person that does the readings at church, you've got various people in leadership of the church, and you have the person that does the frying of the fish is right there alongside parish leadership in many instances in terms of their length with the church, their length with the community, their stature in the community. It's a very prized position, I feel like.
Yes. Well, and you can tell that it is long strung in family history because our producer, Veronica, has been like nodding her head in agreement to a lot of the things we're saying. You can tell this is deeply rooted in her upbringing. And she had a couple recommendations too.
Yeah, she said Assumption Parish in South County has a really, really good fish fry that she has attended and gone to. I've also been to St. James and Dogtown for a couple years.
Yeah.
Great fried shrimp, wonderful fried shrimp plate. They do crinkle cut fries there, which is really, really good. And they have dollar beers, which is always a plus as well for those that are looking to get social at their fish fry.
Yes. Well, I have added this to my must-do list for the month of March. So keep tuned for some
is
fish fry.
season.
It is.
So let's move beyond fish fries, though, because seafood in St. Louis
Yes.
is an often overlooked. We've got great barbecue scenes, we've got great burgers, we've got the Hill for Italian, but seafood is not something that St. Louis, being smack dab in the middle of the country, we're not known for a fantastic seafood scene, but there are some gems of wonderful seafood here in St. Louis. And we're going to dive into a couple of those, share some of our favorites, and then we've got an awesome interview with one of those people that is really doing some cool seafood stuff. But it's interesting, when you think seafood, we joke that we're not pulling seafood out of the muddy Mississippi or the Missouri River. The Merrimack is not giving us,
the bass.
people do some cool things with trout, so there is some opportunity there with seafood, or river food, I guess. Can you call it seafood or from the river? But, we're not Florida, we're not California, we're not Maine, we're not a hotbed of crustaceans that we can shell and chuck and eat.
I feel like the typical Midwest way of cooking seafood is just to batter it and fry it, right? Like if it at one point was swimming in the river, we're just gonna go and fry it so it's tasty.
And serve it with hush puppies and tartar sauce.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm hungry right now.
I'm starving. But so you and I kind of talking, there were kind of a couple of different ways, though, that people do seafood.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So there's some flavor profiles, when you really start examining certain protein structures, like you've got to look like the countries or these regional ways of cooking are very, you can put them on a map by just looking at who's close to a big bay of water. So, we've got Cajun and Creole. Those are two different cooking styles. The flavors are the same, but the protein structure is the same. Nice spice, blackened. Usually it's your shrimp, it's your crawfish, shrimp boils along that vein of it. You've got your Mediterranean cooking that's very heavy on, butter. It's really heavy on like complementing it with lemon and herbs like oregano. Tarragon is another good one that you usually will see with seafood. And then Mexican, they do seafood really well. You get that nice chili blend in there. And then obviously the Asian cultures have it anywhere and everywhere you could possibly look for. So soy sauce as a base. You've got some delicious ways of marinating it. You've got the yuzu lemon aspect of it. So there's lots of great ways to eat seafood. I think some of it is we miss those opportunities because it's not readily available to us. But I found some great ones here in town, and I know that you have your list too. But before we dive into like where to eat seafood, if you're someone that's interested in trying to find or cook, or you're like, hey, I need to expand my own seafood repertoire, Bob's Seafood. Are you familiar with Bob's Seafood? You are, yes.
I am, yes.
Yeah. So the fun thing, Bob's Seafood is open to the public, but they are known as one of the many purveyors of fresh seafood. I mean, he started his business back in the 70s, taking trips down on Wednesday to the Gulf, coming back with a box truck loaded full of fresh seafood, and continuing to be available at markets and then opening up his own brick and mortar. But what I love about them is they've got quality seafood. The pricing is great on it. They're not gouging you. And then they teamed up with Kitchen Conservatory. So they actually have a day cooking class. It's a full day where you can go with a chef to the sea market. And you go there. It's a small class of like 8 people. But you get to go into Bob's Seafood. You get to talk to the fishmongers. You get to pick what you would like to cook. So it could be a fillet of salmon. It could be, I think people have brought back scallops before. There's different varieties of bass. And then you go back to Kitchen Conservatory and you cook with a chef and you're taught how to handle and deal with those things. So I think that's pretty awesome. As far as places to eat, Joe, who did you have on your list? Like, where are your top few places to eat here in town?
So my top, if I'm like, I really need to eat some seafood, I like to go with kind of the Japanese style out of the gate, and that's Indo, Nick Bogner's restaurant down in Botanical Heights.
Yeah.
Had a really tremendous meal there last year with some great hamachi, with some great sauces, great flavors, great profiles. He does a crab fried rice, Dungeness crab fat fried rice. That really is, I mean, I gotta think of another word for flavors, because there's just so many of them in the food that he creates. And what is fascinating about the food is it's not over prepared. And oftentimes, that's when you get like to fish fries that we've talked about, you're not really tasting the fish, you're tasting the breading and the frying. But in a restaurant like Indo, you are tasting the fish, you are tasting the ingredients the way they are meant to be tasted, in a way, in a delicate balance where not anything is overloading any specific thing. Really, really fantastic stuff. Not everything there is seafood, but lots and lots of seafood options and done in a beautiful way. What about you?
Well, if we're going the route of, I think Yellow Belly is one of those sort of hidden restaurants in the Central West End. They have a variety of, I love it when you can go in and you can look and see different seafood options. It's not just salmon, which is the comfort one I think a lot of people go to, but the variety of seafood that they offer is great. And sort of like in more of an island Asian feel to it. So kind of like a shout out to your Polynesian islands or your Filipino islands that are over there. So that's one of mine on the Asian profile. What about Cajun? Do you have any Cajun that you like?
I've not one that stands out to me as being fantastic. I've had Cajun food around St. Louis. We just had a bunch of stuff that happened for the Cajun cook-off, so there were some definitely shining stars there. One that I think maybe fits more into the northeastern United States is Peacemaker. So Peacemaker, lobster, crab, their lobster roll, just for lunch. It's not cheap, I'll give you that, but it is the most, I just want the bun and the buttered bun and the seasoning on the bun packed with these giant buttery lobster pieces. It is a fantastic, fantastic treat if you're ever looking for an upscale carry-out lunch or something to wow somebody with. Peacemaker from Kevin Nashin is doing it right in the seafood game.
I love that. Well, I picked for my Cajun profile was Kathy's Kitchen in Florissant area. You walk in and you see like the black and white checkered floors and the red walls, and you're like, okay, all right, what's going on here? And you get the variety of options that she has on her menu. But Cajun pasta is on there. It is soulful. It is delicious. You're going to get a good meal when you're there and leaving happy. And then for the Mediterraneans, I went with Pinot soul food, Southern Italian soul food. Have you ever been to Pinot's before?
I have never been, but I am very familiar with Pepe, the owner and head chef there, and his story and what he's doing. And I've got a number of friends that are huge fans, and other chefs that are huge fans of that restaurant. So it is on my immediate short list of places that I need to go to. So by the time this airs, I probably will have gone.
He has, well, and in the story, it's a very specific region of Italy. So I think most of us are used to, Neapolitan or Roman Italian food, but there is very close to the Sicilian area. And they have, he's got octopus on his menu that he does right. He's got a variety. Not just seafood, but like vegetable and plant-based forward too. So I would say definitely try them out. And then, so from Italian food, I'm going to kind of switch over to the Mexican profile or the Southern American profile. So there's a place on Cherokee Street. And if you walk by the place, it's kind of written out Mexican seafood in bold letters. But I apologize if you are a Spanish speaker and I butcher this, but Mariscos El Gato. And El Gato means cat. I remember that from Spanish. But the first one means seafood. So I think it's a fun play on words, seafood and cat. So if you have seafood, there's always cats around, right? No.
Really?
No, it's a nickname of one of the chefs.
Oh. I was like, I know that like cats like to eat tuna,
Yes,
or
you usually see them. But this is a place that, like, when you look at their menu, when you go there, it is mountains of seafood, like gigantic claw legs, crab legs. They have, those bowls that when you go to a typical Mexican restaurant and you're served that bowl of guacamole and that like rock platter with 4 legs in it, they take that and serve these gigantic sort of delicious variety of seafood in it. So it's steamed, so it's hot. And then around the rim of it, they take the shrimp and kind of curl the shrimp around it. Inside of it is lobster crab and mussels and oysters. And then it's in this beautiful broth that has this like deep chili cumin. Like it's not a place to go on a first date if you're really concerned about someone watching you eat, because like you're going to go there and get intimate with this food. Like you're going to like definitely need that long bib. You're going to be slurping everything up because it is so delicious. You get a margarita to go with it. It is a place to check out for sure.
I love that. Along those veins, I love Nista in Botanical Heights, just up the street from Indo, Ben Paremba's Mexican restaurant. Speaking of octopus, he has a grilled octopus on that menu that is really, really yummy, and also a really awesome crab tostada that was very, very delightful. Very, very, very delightful. Was really impressed by that.
I love that. Well, you know what? I don't know about you. How do you feel about cooking seafood? How do you feel about fish? Like, is it something that you feel comfortable having and doing?
So it's really funny. I don't think I've ever shared this story with you before, but I actually love to cook fish in the dishwasher.
What?
Yes. Google it. It's
Is this like a TikTok reel that you're like,
it's not a TikTok reel, but it's a TikTok reel we should do. So your dishwasher, believe it or not, and this is a funny story, your dishwasher is the perfect time and temperature to basically like sous vide fish. So you can create little foil packs that are watertight and put, as long as you have some kind of liquid in there with it, like lemon juice or soy sauce, and make little foil tight packets and put it in your dishwasher and run it through a full cycle, you will get perfectly cooked fish out of your dishwasher.
And what kind of fish do you throw into your dishwasher?
I've done it with salmon.
Salmon. Yeah. Okay.
But it works. I've done it. I promise. You can even like wash dishes and do soap and stuff as long as it's a little foil tight. And there's a certain like tutorials online on how to fold it and close it and pinch it and stuff. Like I used to do it as like a party trick just for fun. I did it a couple times to the point to where I was even like, I'm gonna write a cookbook and call it Dishwasher Delicacies, because anything that you can steam that you would sous vide is kind of the idea. Because you think like it's going through a warm, hot cycle, it's going to be steamed in there. It's a good amount of time, low and slow, and beautiful, beautiful salmon out of the dishwasher.
This
Believe
is
it or
like
not.
right up there.
Google
with
it, folks. Google it. I'm not pulling your leg.
Using the clothes iron to make grilled cheese sandwiches on your board with. Like I feel like this is in there. Like what could you household appliances that You don't need to buy a
You can do it with
$300 sous
shrimp.
vide machine.
There's
Like,
a
just-
recipe out there to do chocolate cake in a Tupperware that you seal in your dishwasher.
It's
with
like a
your dishes.
multitasker's dream, right? Get the dishes done on the bottom rack, make dinner on the top rack, and you're done.
I mean, bam.
All right. Well, I look forward to the next copy of Dishwasher's Delicacies by Joe Prosperi.
Look out.
I
We
love
may do a TikTok of that, actually. I think that, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
My goodness. Okay. Well, good. So you feel comfortable and confident about seafood.
For the most part, some seafoods. I've never been able to tackle like swordfish, some of the big game fish.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better grasp of that and an appreciation for that. It scares me a little bit from a cooking perspective, but yeah.
Yeah. Most people will overcook their seafood. Sadly, because it's done in 2-3 minutes. Shrimp is something that cooks very quickly. So does like even tuna. Tuna is something that you can eat raw. A lot of fish we can eat in a very like pure form, but we just need to make sure it's super fresh, super delicious.
Scallops. Why have I not thought about scallops?
I like to refer to them as the marshmallows of the sea.
Oh, they're so delicious. Scallops, when done right, are just perfect.
So there's two kinds on the market. There's a dry and there's a wet. You always want to buy the dry scallops, so you can get that nice sear, the nice sear on the top of it, because that's why you want it. You want to have a hot pan, dry scallops. You want to make sure that you pull all that moisture out of it. It is so good. They're so delicious. A little bit of Bloody Mary sauce. But you know what? I'm hungry, but I would love to hear from our seafood expert on ways that she cooks fish, her recommendations on where to buy fish, and definitely all of her wonderful things that she's making.
Let's welcome her.
All right. All right. Well, we are excited to have our seafood expert chef with us today. And I feel like I can say expert because this woman has proven herself, even though she's up and coming, she has thrown herself in the limelight time and time again over the course of this last few years when we follow her journey. She is running her own business, Taberu, and she's also has the title of being one of the representatives at the World Food Championship, where she placed 6th for her incredible, if you have not seen it, dish. It is a work of art. I feel like it's something you would serve Neptune.
We'll find
in the
pictures
sea.
of it and we'll post it on our channels just so you can see. Because I think that sixth place finish at the World Food Championships in the seafood category, we can drop the up and coming label from our guest today.
Yeah.
You are here. You are leading the seafood scene.
Exactly.
And
so,
she is
Heidi Skye Hamamura. And you may know her already if you are a PBS follower and frequent viewer of our program, Food is Love. She was a guest on that as well. So we are so excited to have you back at the PBS station to educate us on seafood. Welcome, Heidi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's start off with just your journey. Like, how is it that you ended up with seafood being sort of your main focus? You're a classically French-trained chef, which French food, has its fair amount of seafood in it, but not what you're doing. So tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got to where you are as a seafood expert.
So my dad owned 2 Japanese restaurants in St. Louis. It was Sansui. One was in Rock Hill, and the other one's was in Central West End off Kings Highway. And I actually, started with him there as a host, and then worked myself up. I always loved cooking with my dad. It was always fun, and I love food. But, I left for a little while, went to Florida, came back, and just started cooking with my dad at his restaurant. And one of his chefs left, and, I was like a Friday night, and he's like, I need you to do sushi. I'm like, I've never done this before. What do you, but while you're watching it as a server or anything, you're always watching the chef's work. So, it was... he just threw me in there, and I just fell in love with it. It was so fun, and I love eating it. I still can eat it every day.
Yeah.
And then, throughout the years, I've worked at so many places and everything, and doing what I'm doing now, actually, we didn't start doing it more until the pandemic happened. We always did it just, like, as catering on the side with whatever jobs we had. And then when the pandemic happened, I was like, what are we gonna do? And I did have a lot of clients that asked me, since we can't go out, do you think you can make us a couple trays? And we were like, yes. And, the country clubs closed down. And so we lost a lot of businesses from that as well. So we just started selling trays, little by little, and kind of started from that.
You got
So
your pivot.
what's on a tray? When you say we're selling trays of what?
Trays of sushi. So like my basic tray that I get usually all my first time clients and customers to start off with is like a basic one, and it's $125, and it includes delivery. And it's like an array of like a lot of stuff, like different types of nigiri and a couple rolls and whatever, we get delivered that week, fresh. And I like let everyone try that. And then from there, people tell me like, oh, I like that. I want another one. Or there's certain things that like, I don't like this. I don't like that. Can you not make this? So I tell people like, I just give me your allergies, things that you don't like, because I don't want to put any of that, because I want you to eat the whole tray. I want you to
get your money's worth.
Get your money's worth and like eat everything. So if there are certain things that you don't like or you're allergic to or you can do without, I tell people to let me know that, and then things that they love. So I like to add more of that in there.
So let's talk real quick because we are seafood, and I am always intrigued. Sushi is usually one of those main staples when you do kind of like start thinking about items with seafood. But it's not just a blanket. Like you have probably, I'm sure, eel in there. You have probably shrimp and, what are the fishes that you're offering with, like that you work with commonly?
So I always do tuna, salmon. Sometimes I'll do white tuna, yellowtail, halibut, different fishes like that. And then I'll put like squid in there. I like to, whenever we smoke octopus, I like to do that in there because we do our own. We marinate it and then we smoke it with the Japanese cherry and applewood. And we do that with our octopus, our scallops, our smoked salmon. And everyone falls in love with those because it's like it's like a different flavor also. And the smoked salmon that's out there that you can buy sometimes is a little too salty.
Yeah.
So we do it a little different, and it's just so good. I can eat it all the time.
Okay, so eating fish raw, because I always feel like, okay, we are at a disadvantage. We are landlocked despite having a river to our advantage.
Yeah, we're not making sushi out of the muddy Mississippi.
Oh, no, we are not. There's no raw catfish being served to anybody anytime soon. But, I feel like we kind of don't have that wealth of knowledge. So, like, what fish is good to eat raw? Or, like, what are sort of the guidelines for eating raw seafood?
So you want to make sure you go to a good place. The only two places, like if you're not a restaurant or just off the street trying to go somewhere, I would. There's like Bob's Seafood. It's really good, and like Whole Foods. Yeah, they're the only two places that I personally trust to get like sashimi grade. Yeah. And you always want to make sure you say sashimi grade.
Okay.
Like I'm using this for sushi. I need sashimi grade salmon. I need sashimi grade tuna.
And is that like a cut or is that like a specific?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, not just a cut, but like the fish itself.
The fish
itself.
itself.
If you just say I want to order salmon, raw salmon, they're just going to give you raw salmon that you can use to mostly just cook or bake. But if you say sashimi grade salmon, they'll know to give you the fresh salmon.
It's like the Wagyu beef of the fill.
Yeah.
Is it difficult being, obviously in Missouri in a landlocked state? Do you run into fish quality issues? Are there problems getting good sourced fish that we're not in Florida where it's going to come off the boat and you're going to have it on your plate an hour later?
That's the thing. Like people think because if you're next to the water, you're going to get great seafood, and it's not true because we've been to restaurants in Florida where we had bad experiences. It's because the chef doesn't know what they're doing, and it's you never know what you're going to get out there also. And I don't know, that's just like the mixed message because we do have good places like Fortune Fish Company or something that's out here, and they always have great seafood, and they get good things in for the restaurants, and same with Bob's. And we get our stuff from Japanese companies in Chicago, and they get it straight from Japan. And then as soon as it gets there, they drive it down to us. And it's, so we can get it delivered. There's like the Hawaiian companies also, they ship everything in great packaging and just, you can get some great things. You don't have to be by the water to get it. You just need to know a great chef that knows how to handle their seafood.
Well, and I feel like with seafood, the other big thing is farm raised and fresh caught. And just kind of like there's always so many taboo things out there, and especially certain varieties. Like I know everyone's always like if it's tilapia, right? Or some of these other fish. What would you recommend to someone that's trying to navigate ordering seafood and the questions to ask or what to think of when they're thinking about getting seafood?
All of that just, I don't know, it just depends. I mean, it depends like how careful you're really trying to eat, but I don't, there's a lot of restaurants that they're not going to serve you terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, tilapia is definitely one that I personally just steer away from. Just
Yeah.
It's not one of my favorites to eat, to go out, but I mean, if you're gonna like beer batter it and deep fry it, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good old Midwestern way of eating seafood, or fish. Yeah.
What are your favorites? So if you were to sit down and let's do this two ways. Here in the Midwest, if you're what you can get delivered here that's quality, what are you eating right now? And then secondly, if anywhere in the world, if you could sit down somewhere and pick something out of the water to eat or cook with, what are you picking up?
Oh, if I could go out of the water, like oh man, I would love to go get some uni, some sea urchin, and like just crack that open and eat it. That's one of my favorites for sure. Or get some oysters somewhere, or scallops. Some conch.
Oh, conch.
Conch
That's
is one of my favorites.
so good.
Especially like taking it and like cutting it really thin and sauteing it with some garlic, soy butter, and capers and mushrooms.
I feel like butter is always the secret ingredient with anything coming from the ocean.
Oh yeah, it's so good together.
Yeah.
There are so many interesting things like that out there, though, that people can just pick up and cook. Like, I watched a tutorial with gooey duck, and I was like,
gooey duck. Oh, that's so good,
like,
too.
when they cooked it, I was like, that looks delicious. And then they showed me what it was, and I was like, oh, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Like, who's the first person that picked up a gooey duck? And if you have never, it looks like geoduck, but it's pronounced gooey duck. So Google it if you want to know what a gooey duck is. It's terrifying looking.
It is.
It's phallic and disgusting.
Yeah.
But apparently delicious.
It is very delicious. It's just a giant clam, like way too giant, and it looks
way
really,
too giant.
Yeah. So the first person that tried to eat that, it's like, what were you?
Yeah. What were you thinking?
What made you want to eat that?
Reminds me of like the dog whose like tongue naturally sticks out of his mouth. It's like the clam whose body just naturally outgrows its shell.
Yeah, it's like a razor clam, only like 80 times bigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there's all sorts of things like that out there in the ocean that are stunningly delicious. And you wonder, like, over time, like, who's the entrepreneurial person that just picked it up one day and was like, I'm going to eat this without cooking it? And gosh, aren't we lucky they did?
Yeah, like the puffer fish out there.
Well, so there's a cool thing about that is that there's a farm in New York, right, that does blowfish.
Oh.
And it's not poisonous because they farm raise it. And it's really cool because, the puffer fish is poisoned because it eats a poisonous plant. And so because it feeds off that plant, the whole entire body is poisonous.
That omits that. Interesting.
I've had it. It's good though, but yeah, it gets you to kind of think too, because like for my dad, where my dad grew up, everyone knows how to prepare that because it's that's the fish that's around the area, and it's like it's consistency of like halibut if you ever have that raw hirame, and but then it gives you this like numbing flavor to your tongue, and you're like, is it happening to me?
I died.
No, but it's like if you puncture any part of like the organs, that's when you just pretty much have to throw it out because that's like the poisonous part. But it's cool to be able to try to, I've served it at a couple of my dinners.
Wow.
And everyone's like at the table, like, what are you feeding me? I'm like, it's okay. It's from the farm in New York.
Yeah. You're like, it's safe.
Yes,
I promise
safe,
you.
It's good. It has no poison in it.
Yeah. It just reminds me, like, that brings back memories of like a Simpsons episode and then like a fish called Wanda when he like pulls the lionfish out of the tank. I'm sorry, that's a reference. A lot of our listeners probably do not. Sorry. Walking down my rabbit hole of obscure movies I watch. So.
A Fish Called Wanda's not an obscure movie. It's just been a while since I've seen it.
Oh. All right. So tell us real quick. So I know you brought up oysters, and I feel like oysters is sort of, it can be scary to people if they're eating it for the first time. But especially knowing that a lot of our seafood that we're getting is not fresh. So where's a good place to get oysters here in St. Louis? Like, where's a good place that you would recommend?
I haven't really gone out for oysters that much because I can, go to Bob's Seafood.
You can make your own. Okay, so because there's always an accoutrement of sauces and little fun brines and stuff. What do you put on your oysters? Like, what is your typical way of eating it?
I have a really good friend named Justin Kaiman, and whenever we go out, he makes like a great mignonette sauce.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's so good. But whenever he's not there, I like to actually grate daikon radish and use ponzu sauce and put it on there, and it has like a little citrus, delicious flavor to it, and it's perfect for oysters.
Yeah.
Maybe some scallions on there,
That's the way to go. Well, okay.
Yeah,
So we'll pull back. We'll not make it so specific. Where do you go out to eat for seafood here in St. Louis? Like, who do you?
There's a couple places. I love Pinot. That's hands down one of my favorite restaurants in St. Louis. It's like Southern Italian soul food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's on my list.
Perfect words.
Yeah.
Every seafood dish on there. I mean, he has an octopus dish on there that he slow cooks, and you just cut it with your fork, and it just melts in your mouth. It's so delicious. Every scallop dish he makes, every fish. I mean, everything in that whole restaurant. I've never had a bad meal. And everyone that I tell, I come just sometimes I'll go to the restaurant and I'll bump into people that I know, and I send over there. I'm like, you didn't invite me. I introduced you to this restaurant. You didn't tell me. So no, but it's so good, and people. I mean, it's like a little gem that a lot of people don't know about yet. But they do. If you know, you know.
Oh, Pepe is like a master, but he was also your sous chef.
Yes.
So
that was so great. He's so talented. And then down the street, there's Bernie's restaurant, a car. He has such amazing stuff over there too. Him and Andy, I mean, they make such great food.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then Andrew at Jalea. He's at St. Charles. I mean, his Peruvian food out there is amazing. I'm so glad that he finally opened up. Nick Bogner at he has Nippon-te, Indo.
Yeah.
His food is so good. It's so good. Like everything from his kitchen food to sushi.
Yeah.
He's doing great things out there. Yeah, there's so many places doing good seafood for sure.
Now, have you been to a St. Louis Catholic Church fish fry?
No, I haven't.
Is that anything that you'd be interested in doing? We talked a little bit beforehand about some of the tradition in this area with all these fish fries, and so I have yet to go myself, but I am intrigued. It's on my to-do list this year. So
I'll go with you.
Okay, we'll go together. We'll do a full report.
It might hurt your heart. Being somebody that seems to take great love and care for fish in its natural state, to see what some of these Catholic parishes do to this poor fish. That, I mean, it comes out of a box in frozen squares. You're like, is it fish? It's it is
the compressed parts of fish not used.
I don't know. And then it's batter dipped and fried and served with macaroni and cheese. As I said before, it's a big part of many people's upbringings. Yeah. But as somebody that pays great respect to fish, it will hurt your heart. I think I'm worried for you if you go.
I eat fried fish, so we'll go fishing.
Yeah.
Out at the lake, and we'll take the fish, skin it, bone it, and kind of put some Japanese karaage seasoning on it, deep fried, and
a deep love for the fish, not the same batter oil that you fried the fish in last year.
Not the beer batter.
Yeah.
Temper battering it too.
Oh, see, there's an art form to her fried fish.
Absolutely.
A little bit more gourmet, upscale. There you go. There's your next business idea. Like, do a fish fry, like a gourmet fish fry.
Now that I'd be on board with. That I would pay for.
Are you going to support that entrepreneurship?
Gosh, everyone that comes on here, we come up with some idea where I'm like, do you need an investor? Because it's like I have money to invest in these things. I just have a desire to invest in yummy things. And we keep coming up with yummy things.
Yes, I love it.
Fantastic. I love it. Well, good. Well, we love the restaurants that you want to go to. We love what you're doing with fish. Ooh, talk to us about your sushi cakes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, those are super fun.
Like we'll post pictures of those, but those are kind of the one of those hit things at the moment. I hear.
Yeah.
What is it?
So I just ordered a smaller mold because I've never actually got anyone asking me to make a sushi cake for 2 or 1. So I ordered a smaller mold to do that. But right now, my sushi cakes feed like 4 to 6 people. And I pretty much like to go deeper into it, like what are your favorite things? And I like to try to, wrap the cake with like their favorite, like if they're like, oh, we love salmon, try to wrap the, cake with salmon, and the rice in between, it's like layers of like, avocado, guac, spicy tuna mix, different flavors, eel, and stuff like that. And then I try to top it with sashimi, some stuff they like. Simone from
Sounds good.
Choquette actually was like, I don't do raw that much. Like, I like the cook stuff. And so I took like rainbow carrots, cut them really thin, and kind of wrapped it around it to make it look like fish. And then I put like, cooked like tempura shrimp on top and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I
and
love
try to
that.
decorate it.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Because I've seen sushi donuts, and this is just like taking it to another level.
Yeah.
You're just
It's
making
like
a whole
tiered.
cake.
Before you know it, people will be having it at their wedding instead of wedding cake. They'll have like, I don't know how you'd cut a sushi cake, but I feel like at the end of the day that might, instead of,
I need a sharp knife.
right, a sharp knife. I feel like that, you feed each other a piece of sushi instead of a piece of cake. It's not going to be smashed in your
Cute
face.
though. You got
The chopsticks.
so you're feeding each
Yeah,
other. I think
there
it's a
you go.
thing.
I
can
think
see
it's
that
going to be up and coming before you know it. So.
happening. I'm down
No,
for
I
it.
love it. Okay, so let's talk sushi real quick because I find it interesting to see everybody's sushi orders. What do you feel is like an underrated sushi that is like always neglected, but is absolutely so? It's like the unspoken secret menu sushi item that's so good, but people are afraid to try it. I think-
Like I just posted one this morning actually that some people are like they don't really order it because they don't know if they like it or not.
Yeah.
Or, it's squid.
Yeah.
I like to put that on. I've never had anyone so far tell me they didn't like it.
Yeah.
If you prepare it the right way and you serve it, I like to serve it with shiso leaf. Because it's like have you guys had that? The Japanese, it's kind of like a mint basil, I don't know. And it has its own distinct flavor.
Yeah.
But that with squid together is just like a great combination.
Oh, sounds good.
Being able to take it also and kind of cut it in a way to where it's not, you don't get this whole chunk of squid in your mouth. It kind of like, I don't know, it's, kind of blanching it a little so it's not too like slimy in your mouth and just perfect. I mean, it's one of I loved it growing up and I love it now.
Yeah.
So I try to incorporate that into my trays as much as I can, different styles of it or different kinds. And so far, I mean, I haven't had anyone complain or say they didn't like it or not order it on their second tray,
Yeah.
So
Do you feel like seafood's a great palette for like absorbing flavors that are put on it? It's more of kind of like you can create your own sort of, it's a canvas for making your own, but you got to cook it right, right? It can be really rubbery if you don't do it right.
Yes. Or if like, a disappointment happens, like you go somewhere and they don't have it thought out or prepared. So they try to take it and put it under hot water or something to kind of thaw it up, but they don't cool it down. And then they serve it to you and you're like, why am I eating hot squid? You know what I mean? And I've had that happen to me a couple times and I'm just like, this is why I don't go out anymore unless I know who's really working, It's disappointing. And then, because of things like that, people think they don't like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they get something prepared the wrong way. Or, same with uni. Like, if you don't serve it within, like, the 3-day mark, even though the uni looks exactly the same, it looks fresh, it turns already. So the flavor of this, like, pungent trash is in your mouth. Like, the seafood trash flavor is in your mouth. And you think that you don't like it, but it's just because you didn't get it served fresh, you know? So those are the things that you kind of have to watch out to. Or people, they have certain things and it looks fine and they don't know what they're doing and they end up serving it to you and you eat it and you're like, I don't even want to swallow.
Yeah.
Do
you feel like sushi is an underrated, like people tend to douse it in the wasabi and the soy sauce plate? Do you feel like it's sort of like not appreciated for its complex flavors?
Sometimes, but if they like it that way, then kudos to them. I liked being able to taste some of the freshness of the fish,
Yeah.
Especially if you're getting a good one. Some, chefs, they kind of put their own like sauce on it also, so you don't get the option of dousing it in
Yeah.
soy sauce. Like the one thing I like about Nick when you sit at his bar is, he serves you, but he puts his own little
Yeah.
flavor on there, so you get this just perfect amount of sauce and
Yeah.
on your fish, and you don't have to worry about just dipping it and losing your rice to your soy sauce.
Yeah.
You just put it in your mouth and the whole flavor is there.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I know, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch him work.
It
Yeah.
is.
It reminds me of the documentary about the sushi station in Japan in the subway, where he's just a master, and you watch it. It flows. It's beautiful. You're just in awe watching the whole
I
time.
had some amazing hamachi at Indo, and I still think about it a year and a half later.
Yes.
Dream
yes.
about it.
And they make it look so easy, right?
Yeah, there's a reason he's a master of his craft. He's
Yes.
gotten his recognition. So, well, I love it. Well, I am hungry for some seafood right now,
Yes.
and I'm inspired to try squid. It's not been on my list, but it is now. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'd love to make you guys some
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So inspired now to go and branch out, because I'm not an oyster person, but I'm like, oh, but I like ponzu sauce, so maybe I'll give that a try.
Yeah, there you go. Well, make sure Taberu, which is Japanese for eat, right? You can follow Heidi there and see all of her mini creations that she throws out. I feel like you're posting daily. I don't know how you do it between your bento boxes and your sushi cake and running your business. You're great about making us all drool for really good seafood here in St. Louis. So thank you, Heidi, so much for your time today.
Lydia, I don't know about you, but I need to go to Bob's Seafood and buy a bunch of seafood. And I'm going to grill it. I'm going to poach it. I'm going to sous vide it. I'm going to sashimi it. I'm
There you
going
go.
to do all the things to all the seafoods, because now that's all I want to eat.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like a very seductive Lent for you.
Why you got to make that sound dirty?
I don't know. You said you're going to do all the things. You're going to put it all in your dishwasher, aren't you? This will be the next chapter to the delicious dishwasher.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have spent a lot of money on beautiful scallops to put them in the dishwasher.
It's all right. I was cleaning up my act with that comment there. So anyways, well,
The cheap salmon I get at Sam's, I can probably do in the dishwasher. But the nice seafood from Bob's Seafood, I don't know. But we'll see.
yes. Well, thank you all for joining us. I think I'm ready to go off and look and find the catch of the day. Bum, 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 bum,
Ew.
bum. Whoa.
Your hosts for the Chew and the Lou podcast are Joe Prosperi.
And Lydia Gwynn.
Our producer is Veronica Moheski, and this has been a production of 9 PBS in St. Louis. A special thank you to our guest today, Heidi Skye Hamamura.